they don't, act upon them. They don't tell the public about it. So, they definitely know there are certain things going on, and who knows what happened before the earthquake. I wonder if animals were heading to the hills and dogs were having, intuitive moments. I think animals and that kind of thing have been reported to be, in tune to these earth changes and whatnot. And it's interesting to look at. And, I tend to think of HAARP the second something like this happens, especially with all these coincidences. But I think that's really something that we shouldn't get too caught up on. That's a minor detail. The bigger details that we should deal with are the ones in which, what are they doing after this? What is that thing that make the Patriot Act look like, something real easygoing that they've had in the works beforehand, and how are they going to implement that, and what is the slippery slope that comes from this? And the whole dialectic, regardless of if they actually create the problem or not, of problem, reaction, solution, remains an extremely vulnerable moment for us. And I think that's what's important here. And thanks, guys, so much for doing this program tonight.
No sweat, Bob, and thank you for calling. Let's go to Lee in Kentucky. Lee, you're live on the air. Go ahead.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you all this evening?
I'm doing just fine. Lee, how about yourself?
I'm doing fine. A great show tonight. I'm very pleased with your show tonight. I would just encourage everybody, after they're done listening to this program, listen to Stan Deyo this evening on the NutriMedical Report. He's touching on this somewhat. And I'm finding myself in a little bit of a dilemma because normally I agree with you guys most of the time. And tonight I find that, Joe, I agree with you as far as what they're doing, being in the military. What do you do in the military? You train, you prepare, you drill, you practice, and I'm in agreement with AC, and I am in agreement with him on as far as the scalar versus the HAARP, just from the technological point of view on that. And again, I don't know how much of it actually done it, or if it didn't help but to expedite it just to make it happen more. And I think the motivation behind it, I don't know about New Zealand, but I know as far as my opinion, here in the United States, when this happens at the New Madrid, then we're looking at election year coming up. If you have a population decrease, can you imagine the jobs that this will create? And something like on this massive scale, the jobs that this will create alone and the deaths that it will cause. I wonder how that would flip-flop and make things appear to be better, at least for a while. The other thing is, I'm interested in knowing if you guys know of anything on the web that a person could look at to see a statistical chart, or because what I've heard is like 100-mile radius, massive from this New Madrid, massive devastation. And I know here in Kentucky, we don't build buildings for earthquakes. I mean, there's a lot of older brick structures, and I think we're going to have major power outages, gas line outages, water outages, probably 400 or 500 miles out. I don't know, but that's my, in looking at the infrastructure around this area. Maybe west is a little better than Tennessee and Kentucky and what have you, but I just wonder if y'all have any information on anything that a person could go to try to look at a scenario type of situation to where once this happened, that we could look at a damage radius. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand.
If you go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com, on the homepage, we did a commercial-free 2-hour interview with Stan Deyo specifically on this subject, and very, very, very interesting information indeed. It was one of our best shows that we've ever done, so I'd recommend that one. Beyond plugging myself, I'm not sure.
Could you repeat that? Could you repeat that site again for me, please? I'm gonna write this down.
If you just Google Vinnie Eastwood, Vinny, starts with a V, ends with an N-E, Eastwood, like Clint Eastwood, as in go ahead, make my day.
Gotcha. All right.
Thank you.
Well, Lee, you know what? You're right. the military does train that way. And will it happen? Could it happen? Yeah, it could happen. Am I saying it's going to happen? No, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, you know? But you're right. The middle portion of the United States not only holds older infrastructure. There's older infrastructure. Obviously, it's not California. They're not built to take a lot of earthquakes. But also, when you start talking about the rural areas over there, you've got a very conservative area. And wouldn't it just be fantastic if they just go ahead and wipe them out? You know? That's.
Oh, I mean, what would that do for the election next year?
Oh man, it would just.
In 2020, yeah.
Yeah, it would totally swing it, right? And that's my point. There's so many ways you can take this, and that's we're really speculating, but there's the main question that I have to ask out of all of this is why the hell is FEMA down there? Why? And why were they in New Zealand before it happened? That's my question.
Joe, why don't you call them on the phone tomorrow and ask them?
I plan on it.
Yeah.
and you'll get some description of official BS just going, oh, well, we're just doing something for the good of the people. We're just trying to train our troops, and just coincidentally we happen to be at the right place at the right time. Like effing nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. It's absolutely ridiculous. For some reason, and I don't know, maybe I'm going insane over here, but I don't trust anything the government says, least of all lackeys like people working for FEMA.
That's right.
Whatever the heck they've got to tell you, it'll be mountains of BS with a teeny tweak of truth, and you'll basically be back to square one. I mean, you might as well wildly conspiracy theorize, wouldn't you? You're probably more likely to get to some description of truth that way than trying to get any information out of official sources.
Yeah.
And this is the real problem that we have with media in this country, and everybody's country now come to think of it, isn't it? We're living under this one global system of totally retarded, I know how to do my hair, but I don't know how to ask a question journalist, whack job, nut fuddling swizzle stick scumbags who have no clue whatsoever. They don't know the right questions to ask. They don't have curious minds. All they really want to do is get their taxi chits so that they can go around and get drunk and pay for hookers and all of that kind of jazz.
You're right.
It's not.
They're evil dogs. You're right.
Yeah. And if the media won't do their job, it does no good to fight them. I say replace them because they're no longer relevant.
Go ahead, Lee.
I've got one last question. But before I say this, the little New Zealand guy. I mean, I wish he would just really open up and just tell us how he really feels. Instead of holding back.
I appreciate
that.
Bad.
I was restraining myself. Sorry.
But I guess my question is,
I ain't little. I'm 6'4", buddy. Watch out.
Okay.
That's why I decided to hide in plain sight. Be on the airwaves and all of that kind of shit and all of that kind of stuff because I'm 6'4". How the heck can I hide anyway?
And they don't call them. The whole thing about calling them Kiwi, that's just that's just all. That's a screen. That's just
we're a tad fruity as well.
You'll have to forgive me on that because anybody with an English accent, we call them limeys, and of course we know what happened in the Revolutionary War, and we kind of tend to just look at it that way. So you have to forgive me on that because you are in fact a brother indeed, and I respect you. But what I want to ask you is, earlier in the show, you guys had talked about some of the materials that FEMA had been stockpiling, and my question is, Joe, I tend to think that. I would be as bold to say I do believe this will happen. I believe it will happen very soon, simply because of the shelf life of some of these products that they have purchased. Just like Israel just purchased a bunch of jet fuel, and we know what's fixing to happen over there. And this diesel fuel and these MREs and what have you, and some of not MREs. They're in fact what do you call it? What's the other thing? Not the MREs. The Mountain House, some of these food products, I think we're looking at something that's going to happen within the next 6 months. I think for one thing, you don't spend that much money preparing for something that's not going to happen. I mean,
yep,
as
you're
much
absolutely
as
right.
time and effort.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more, Lee, and thank you so much for the call. Lee's one of our loyal callers, Vinny, and I'll tell you what, he's always a level-headed dude, and he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's right. I mean, there is a reason to be scared, or reason to perk your ears up, I should say, based on the fact that they are going through all this. They're buying a lot of perishable stuff. They're buying a lot of fuel that does, expire over time. So there is a lot to be concerned about. Now, I want to get to one more.
14 million meals from FEMA. Damn right there's something to be concerned about. Why do you think my American producer exited the States? Get the hell out of there, man.
Right. Let's go to one more call before the break. I'm going to go to Dutch Sense. You're live on the air.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
I'm doing just fine.
I'm borderlining on fabulous as my party line. So remember, in the next election, vote fabulous.
Right. Absolutely fabulous, as we say, right? The reason I called was somebody had mentioned they were trying to find a website that would show the affected areas of the New Madrid if it does go. What's to be expected if on the different magnitude levels. And you can just go onto Google and search showme.net, and that's from the Show Me State here in Missouri, and then just add quake behind showme.net, and you'll see the maps that you need to see. And it's just, it's really intriguing what you guys are talking about tonight because, I mean, as you know, there's only a few places that we can go on the Internet to find out what's happening. And, we're all just kind of at the mercy of this, stream of data that's coming in. And what I've been touching on lately is just the stream of data has been corrupted. And I just got notice tonight that I'm going to be on the mainstream media. The guy's name is Morning Joe, Cup of Morning Joe. So.
Oh, yeah, MSNBC. Watch out.
Right. So that's going to be in the next 48 hours unless something else happens. They just sent me a notice. So I'm going to be on there talking about this. And I'm labeling it a science scandal because, there hasn't been a good scandal in science in a long time. And this one's provable. We can prove that they're just, knocking data off and burying it. And it's for good reason, I think, at least, a well-intentioned reason, which is they're trying not to, cause a panic. They don't want people to freak out and not go to their jobs and other, scenarios.
No, you're absolutely right. Now, Dutch, what do you think? What do you think happened down in New Zealand?
Well, it's really interesting. It happened at 5 kilometers deep. And I've got a video touching on this. It's back, you have to really go fish through my stuff on YouTube. Maybe I'll bring it up to the top so everybody can see it. But it's these earthquakes are happening at 5 kilometers, which is 3 miles, okay? Mm-hmm. And what I noticed was this was like 2 or 3 months ago before the birds started dying, before any of this stuff. Being the nerd that I am, I'm just on there every day just looking at the earthquakes and stuff. And I started noticing a pattern, which was near the capitals of certain cities in certain states, within, let's say, 30 to 50 miles of the capital city of each state, there's these strange 3-mile deep earthquakes happening. Okay, and it's just a really weird coincidence, right? But if you go on and look it up, it's undeniable.
Oklahoma and Arkansas.
Correct. Oklahoma City is to the northeast of Oklahoma City, and now there's nothing showing up because there hasn't been. I think they're done doing whatever they're doing down there.
In Arkansas.
Also right. And now in Arkansas, they're still fracking away, so to speak. But I know they are fracking down there, but I don't think that's what we're looking at here. I really don't. And and then one other thing that I noticed was around the Earth. Everywhere else, here in the States, it's at 5 kilometers, and in Australia and New Zealand, it's at 5 kilometers. Everywhere else, 10 kilometers. Okay, and not all the earthquakes, but now the explanation for that is that they just randomly assign 10 kilometers to earthquakes that they can't figure out what depth they're at. But if you go look at them, they're at like 10.1 or 9.9, so they're not approximations. They've been reviewed by a seismologist, and So going down that rabbit hole is where I've been, and that's how I even gotten involved in this. So I just wanted to get that out there for you.
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, all these quakes are really suspicious, and you've got to be suspicious